So what that tells me is there's not a typical gifted child, is there? And it also really gives you an idea how they see themselves. It's very different, very misunderstood. First of all, they started off by saying what makes them different, how they feel, and then what teachers could do to help them in school. So that's the type of information that we need to share with our teachers, because these kids learn differently because they feel differently. They might not need to go through the same learning process, the same steps as other students. School is constructed in a very linear, sequential way. We go from step A to step B to step C. A lot of gifted students jump from A to Z, then they miss something, they go back to L, they look for some more information, go to G, and then they jump ahead again to V. This is very typical of the way that abstract thinker, that abstract learner does learn. Now let's put this into the context of what's going on in our country, the national, state, and local trends. First of all, it might be surprising for you to know that the federal government allocates no money to gifted education, even though these students constitute a significant proportion of our population. There is no federal mandate and no federal funding for gifted education. The state, it's really up to the states. They leave it up to the states to decide how much money they're going to allocate. And until February 2010, Arizona did allocate money for gifted education. And when all the educational budget cuts transpired, they crossed it right off the list. So since then, we have had no state funding either. We have an unfunded state mandate. There is a state mandate that says you need to do this, but we're not going to give you any money to do it. So that's why we say that it really boils down to what is going on in the individual schools and school districts. As I mentioned, in Arizona, we don't have to require any teacher training before the teachers are teaching the kids in our schools. And we are in good company. There's very, very few, only less than a dozen now, I think. I believe it used to be more, but not very many. Now, this is the state mandate. All of this information is on my Gifted website, but there's also links to it. But there's a link to this Arizona state mandate if you want to read what we are required to do. I say required, but because there's no funding, there's no watchdog, and there's nobody really checking to make sure that the schools are doing what really is written in the mandate. A few of the important elements of that is that gifted kids must be provided with special education commensurate with their ability and potential. That the curriculum must be differentiated in content, process, product, learning environment, and that all students who are identified at least in a 97% percentile above on one of the state-approved tests must be receiving some gifted education provided by teachers that either hold our endorsement or are working toward one. I'm really proud to say that in Paradise Valley, we do fulfill all the requirements of the state mandate, but we're very rare. It's very unusual. What it really boils down to is what NAGC, Jamie Clarenbach, the legislative advocate, basically attorney for the National Association for Gifted Children, says that all gifted is local. That might be local down to the state level, down to the district level, down to the school level, but really it's down to what's happening in your child's classroom. It's down to that level. And that's why we provide so much training for our teachers, because we know there's gifted kids in every classroom, whether they're identified or not, they're there. So I'm going to talk to you about that training in a minute. But first I want to talk about effective gifted programs. And they include flexibly grouping our gifted students so that they can be working with like-minded peers at times of the day when they need it. Differentiated curriculum instruction. We know that they need differentiated curriculum instruction because they fall outside of that range that we call normal. Continuous progress. This means that we need to make sure that we are using formative assessments and documenting growth of these students year to year, but also within the year, because this is the group of students that's least likely to make annual yearly progress in any given year, because they have typically mastered 60 to 85% of the grade level standards. Some studies go even beyond that. I'm going to direct you to some research and some articles that you can look up, that you can refer to later, that helps you make sense of some of this information. Intellectual peer interaction, we know that gifted kids learn better when they're learning with others that think like them, that feel like them, and learn like them. They're going to push themselves harder, take more challenges, but most importantly, the teachers are going to be more likely to plan for their instruction when there's a group of them, and that's why we group our gifted students together. Continuity means that giftedness does not start when third grade when your pullout starts. Giftedness starts in many school districts historically have begun their gifted program services in third grade, but we want to provide it K-12, actually now pre-K-12. And no gifted program is going to be effective unless we have teachers that receive ongoing specialized training. So what are some of the options? In Paradise Valley, we have a tremendous amount of gifted services. We have a gifted preschool that starts at age 4. We test the students. Students can enter at any time during the school year after they turn 4. And these teachers are certified early childhood and gifted, endorsed, and they're at 2 locations in our district. Please, I'm not going to go into depth on any of these programs. I'm giving you an introduction, and I'm going to ask you to go to the Gifted Ed website, and there's videos, there's articles, there's information, there's applications on all of these programs. The school-wide cluster grouping model, this is a model that I have helped develop, and we have this K-6 in all of our elementary schools, and we have it required for K-4, but most of the schools go ahead and cluster K-6. Now, in this model, all the gifted students are grouped together at each grade level into one class, unless that group of gifted students gets very, very large, and then they'll break it into 2. And then that gifted cluster teacher receives ongoing training in working with our gifted specialists. And our gifted specialists are the ones that provide the content replacement, which is another program that we have for gifted students grades 4 and above. Some schools are able to include grade 3. But we have content replacement for math and for language arts with a gifted endorsed gifted specialist who also helps oversee the training and for the gifted cluster teachers. Those gifted cluster teachers are one at every grade level in our elementary schools. We have enrichment classes, grades 4 through 8. We have a self-contained program for highly and profoundly gifted children who are radically accelerated. That is in 3 locations now at Sonoran Sky, and then we expanded to Desert Cove 3 years ago, and just this year we expanded to North Ranch Elementary School. Now this is a program that is really for gifted students who need more than the regular gifted programs can offer. It's very, very tiny percentage of our gifted students. So remember I said there's about 5,000 gifted students. In the self-contained altogether K-8, there's probably about 350. Okay, so it's really a small number. So we have different training for the different programs and for the teachers in those programs, I should say. We also have a uniquely gifted program, and this is for that child who's twice exceptional, has an IEP and a gifted identification. Nonverbal Honors Corps in the middle school is a fantastic program, which I love. It's right next door at Greenway Middle School, and this really focuses on the needs of culturally and linguistically diverse students, also a self-contained program. Digital Learning Centers are self-contained for the middle school. Most of our self-contained in the elementary go there, and phenomenal teachers and phenomenal curriculum. It is not an online program. It's just that there's a ubiquitous technology. They create a lot of project-based learning based around integrated themes. So all the math, the reading, the social studies, they do projects that incorporate all of these areas. It's a fabulous program. Applications, by the way, for the Digital Learning Center, the DLC, and the self-contained go through my office. Applications into the other gifted programs, basically, once we have that information that your child is identified, they get placed into those classrooms. But I need those records if you're getting outside testing. Honors Academies for the middle school for pre-engineering and foreign languages, and that one's at Desert Shadows Middle School. Application goes through that school. And then honors and AP classes in all of our middle schools and high school. And I work with the gifted liaisons, which is a representative from each of the middle schools and high schools, and they work with the honors teachers. So, and then we also have the International Baccalaureate program, which goes K-12. We are one of just a handful of districts in the state of Arizona that has this program. It's not just for gifted, but the gifted students, especially in the middle school and high school, those programs tend to have a lot of gifted students identified. The PYP program is at Quail Run. The MYP, the middle years program, is at Vista Verde, and the DP diploma program is at North Canyon High School. And then we also have honors online classes. We started with the high school, we're adding in middle school, and sometime after spring we will start adding into the elementary school as well. And that can be, students can supplement if they're out of our district or if they're homebound because they're ill or they're traveling. There's a lot of different ways that those kids can access that.